I don't know exactly what audience she's courting. I don't know any Republicans who are still watching SNL. And once again, she's running for the Republican primary nomination. She's Nikki, you're not the general election candidate. I like you. You seem like a nice person, smart lady. But you have not secured the primary nomination. Now is not the time. So she goes on SNL, and I'm not sure this skit hurt Trump. But you take a look and tell me, top 5.
My question is, why won't you debate Nikki Haley?
Oh, my God, it's her, the woman who was in charge of security on January 6th. It's Nancy Pelosi.
For the 100th time, that is not Nancy Pelosi. It is Nikki Haley.
Are you doing okay, Donald? You might need a mental competency test.
You know what I did? I took the test and I aced it, okay? Perfect score. They said I'm 100% mental. And, I'm competent because I'm a man. That's why a woman should never run our economy. Women are terrible with money. In fact, a woman I know recently asked me for $83.3 million. Nikki Haley, Joel Osment, we call her. 6 cents. Remember that one? I see dead people.
Yeah, that's what voters will say if they see you and Joe on the ballot.
Oh, boy.
The last thing is pretty good, but...
Here's part 2, where they brought up her recent faux pas, a stumble, whatever. It was a dumbass answer when she gave it. She tried to clean it up here. SOT 6.
I was just curious, what would you say was the main cause of the Civil War? And do you think it starts with an S and ends with a lavery?
Yep, I probably should have said that the first time. And live from New York, it's Saturday night.
I've got serious questions about whether this was a good idea. I really do. What's next? The Daily Show? Why don't you swing by there? How about Scarborough? Well, tiptoe through those tulips. Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid. Why don't she go on her show? I don't get it, Camille. I like the Vivek Ramaswamy philosophy of going everywhere and trying to get as many votes as you can. Just not sure SNL is one of the venues where there's any potential votes available.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I do think it is a good idea to go wherever you can, find an interesting audience, if not a friendly audience, to try and talk to. But these do not seem like the kind of places that are actually going to help you with Republican voters, which is the principal concern, or at least ought to be the principal concern if you want to try to win them over. But maybe that's not what she's doing. Maybe she's playing a long game here, wants to continue to try to make herself as palatable as possible to independents and to Democrats. In the event that something happens that makes it impossible for Donald Trump to run, she's perhaps there around, and people still have fond feelings about her. But I don't know that appearance is going to make the difference for her.
Well, it is true, Inez, that if she keeps her popularity up beyond the Republican electorate with independents, with Democrats, maybe it's a VP play. Maybe she's making herself look shinier and more attractive as is number 2, because, you don't want to do any harm in choosing a VP. And if you could actually do some help in getting yourself across the finish line, especially if you don't make it, you're going to be prosecuted to the end by 2 federal prosecutions. So you really need to win. Maybe it's a play towards burnishing those credentials.
I mean, maybe. And Donald Trump has, as personally as he seems to take a lot of things, he does forgive people as long as they come back and kiss the ring in a self-humiliating way. He has a history of doing that. So maybe that is the play she's going for. I do want to make a distinction, because I agree with you, Megyn. I think it's great for conservatives, for Republicans to go into hostile territory and argue their point to an audience that hasn't heard it before. Too often what we see is, I think is completely on display in this SNL episode, is the Republicans who go into hostile media or go into left-wing media, they go into it just to sort of yuck it up at their own base, and in this case at Donald Trump. And so we see Republicans essentially ingratiating themselves to liberal media, to liberal hosts, and trying. They're not really bringing. Nikki Haley isn't really bringing a conservative message to SNL. She's become a prop in allowing SNL to hit Donald Trump, and I think Republican voters are really sensitive to that, and I don't think this is going to help her at all. It's
a very good point. I mean, you're, again, trying to win over Republicans. Did they like SNL better, or do they like Donald Trump better? And by the way, the woman who was asking her the question about does it start with S and end in lavery is some Democratic Socialist of America. She's one of these hardcore activists. It's like, Okay, good job helping her advance her agenda. Not so sure you did a great job of advancing the agenda of Republicans. Separately, by the way, Shane Gillis, comedian Shane Gillis, he's going to host SNL February 24th after SNL fired him before it actually hired him back in 2019 because they said back then he was a racist, he was inappropriate, he had made jokes about Asians that they found deeply, deeply offensive. But I guess 4 years have passed and he's no longer offensive. I'm not sure. And I'm actually not sure what he's doing either because not only is he going on SNL, but he's partnering with Bud Light, which is basically a slur in Republican circles. He went from doing slurs the left finds upsetting to issuing one out of his mouth the right finds upsetting, which is Bud Light. Kmele, what do you make of that?
Well, I think, first with the SNL thing, I mean, this has got to be one of the more remarkable things that I've seen in our culture in a very long time. Cancel culture being what it is, certainly a thing, whether or not you like that name. It's remarkable to see him going back to this place, being the center of attention, and having the opportunity to just kind of dominate an episode of SNL before he didn't even get to appear on any of them. So that's pretty cool to see. The Bud Light thing, I mean, it's clear that Bud Light wants to try to shake off the reputation that they've developed for themselves. And they imagine that Shane can help them with that. Shane, I'm sure, is happy to take the check and will be interesting and funny and smart. Yeah, in these particular ads. So, will that work for him? I imagine it will. Probably won't hurt him at all. Will it help Bud Light? I don't know. But it certainly won't be worse for them than the last spokesperson who they hired.
Sorting through your expense tracking, estimated payments, and all those deductions is overwhelming. It might lead to a failure to file or failure to pay penalties that pile up on your tax debt. Here's an idea. The attorneys at Tax Network USA have been lifesavers for many. Their team has successfully saved clients over $1 billion in tax debts. Whether you're in the hole for 10 grand or staring at a $10 million debt, they are ready to help. Even if you haven't filed in 1, 5, or 10 years, the expert attorneys and tax pros at Tax Network USA are equipped to secure the best settlement for you and to help you resolve all tax cases no matter how they started. Go to tnusa.com/Megyn, tnusa.com/Megyn, or call 1-800-245-6000. Contact them now as these tax debt relief programs are expected to change. tnusa.com/Megyn, or call 1-800-245-6000 and tell them Megyn Kelly sent you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.